What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here, back to talk some football with Dilly Vanilli and Kevole. And no team is more interesting, more intriguing, and more Raiders than the Oakland Raiders. I mean, they're just the most Raiders team we've seen in seasons. So the Oakland Raiders come into this year with a new head coach, former head coach, Jon Gruden, who brought them a lot of success in the early 2000s. And they're getting some pieces back, but they also added a lot of pieces in the offseason, which adds to the hype and adds to the stigma of the Raiders. They added Jordan Nelson. They added Martavis Bryant. They drafted Colton Miller. They added Doug Martin. They added Tahir Whitehead. They added a bunch of other guys, okay? They just added a lot of guys, especially in free agency, where a lot of people were critical of them for getting a little bit older. But I also think in getting a little bit older, in my personal opinion, this made the Raiders a more mature team that can take the step to being what they were a couple of years ago. So I know that's my opinion, but I want to hear what Dylan has to say, and then I'll break it down from there. And then we'll get to Kevole last, because I know Kevole is not a fan of the Raiders. So go ahead, Dilly Vanilli.
All righty. I can't wait for this one. So in terms of what I see out of this team, this is a new setup from what we got last year. Last year was pretty disappointing, honestly. 6-10. Derek Carr was not up to par. Derek Carr up to par. There you go. But there was not as much goodwill for the Oakland Raiders as there was in 2016. This year, let's look at this team. Receiver-wise, Jordy Nelson, going to be a big gain. I know Michael Crabtree is gone, but getting Jordy Nelson there is going to be a bonus. It's a big loss for Green Bay, so I feel like it's going to be a good addition for Oakland. Amari Cooper had a rough 2017, which is sad because we actually really like him, but I think hopefully he comes back. I don't know if he will, but I feel like he'll at least have a better season than 2017. Martavis Bryant comes into the fold. I really like what he can bring. And there is actually some pretty decent depth at this wide receiver position. Offensive line-wise is decent. I like Donald Penn. And I actually really do like the draft pick of Colton Miller. I think some people didn't like it that much, but I think it's very good. Jared Cook, one of those guys that's going to make those big catches. Sometimes he just doesn't have any games, but other times he comes out and shows out for some reason. Derek Carr. If you guys watch my top 5 QBs that are going to bounce back in 2018, I had him number 2, only to Aaron Rodgers because, I mean, there's no way I can put him ahead. But Derek Carr, I think, is going to be here for a big bounce back year. 2017 was not a good year for him. It was not productive, but Jon Gruden absolutely loves Derek Carr. He's going to focus on Derek Carr more than anything else, and having Derek Carr be the number 1 playmaker for him is going to be the biggest thing for this offense, and I know that's what he's going to focus on. Jon Gruden's going to focus on that more than anything else. So I think Derek Carr is going to be here for a big bounce back year. The running back crew, not 100% sold. Marshawn Lynch actually did have a pretty good second half of the year, even though if we do think of what we think of him, this might be his last year. And then Doug Martin is a low-key good signing if he provides in Oakland. So we'll see how that goes. Defense, they're kind of old. I know we brought that up, but I do like some pieces. Arden Key in the 3rd round was actually a really good draft pick, in my opinion. I really like that for Oakland. Bruce Irving is solid at the linebacker position. I'm not a big fan of their defensive ends and tackles and whatnot. They're okay, but they did draft some people, especially if Maurice Hurst plays and he's healthy. That's going to be a huge steal. It just depends on how healthy he is. Tahir Whitehead is a good linebacker. Their safety and corner help with Leon Hall, Reggie Nelson, Rashawn Melvin, pretty decent pieces that's going to get them a little bit above average in that position. So overall, I really like what the offense brings, especially with Derek Carr and Jon Gruden. The one question I do have, though, is that Jon Gruden and Khalil Mack have not talked since Jon Gruden has signed with the Oakland Raiders. In fact, he hasn't even reported a training camp. So I do have some questions about that. But going forward, I know Khalil Mack is still a tremendous player, and hopefully he gets on the field and does his thing. I have this team going 10-6. I have them as the wild card, the 6-seed wild card in the AFC. I like what the offense brings here. I think there's some good stuff. And the defense, while a little bit older, does bring some, like Mitch said, maturity to the table. And I really like what Gruden's plan is here right now. So 10-6, that is the 6th seed in the AFC for me.
All right, before we get to Kevole, let me spit out what I think about the Raiders. So I think the Raiders are also going to be in the wild card spot. Sorry, Kevole. I have them at 9-7. I said that my AFC team, my 6th seed, would be 9-7, and it was very close between them and the Titans. But I ultimately decided to go with the Raiders as a wild card team. So I have the Raiders at 9-7 making the playoffs. Now, I've been pretty accurate when it comes to the Raiders over the past 3 to 4 seasons. 2 years ago, I saw them winning the AFC West and going to the playoffs. And then the season after, I saw them dropping off and not being a very good team. And this year, I think they're going to be back, not quite in the form in terms of, I think they were 12-4 that year. I don't think they're quite going to be that good in terms of a record. Their division is a little tougher, and I just see their schedule being a little bit tougher. But this year, I think that they're going to bounce back, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And whenever you have an offense that's this strong, you're going to definitely win some games. So you look at the receiver position. I think Jordy Nelson is going to end up being a very good signing for them. I think he's going to come in, and he won't be that like Jordy Nelson we know from Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, but I think he could mold into being a very good possession receiver and coming up with a lot of big catches in the red zone and that. And he'll give them at least what Michael Crabtree did in that position and maybe even more, and with leadership and all that stuff coming along with it. Amari Cooper should have a good season this year. I just want him to have a little bit more consistency throughout the course of the season. He'll have really big games last year, the year before, but he'll kind of disappoint in others. I want to see more consistency. Martavis Bryant is going to be a home run hitter for this team, and they have never had, over the course of Derek Carr's career, a third receiver to go to. Ryan Switzer, I think, will improve their punt return, kick return game. Seth Roberts isn't bad. Offensive line, I think, is going to go back to the form it was a couple of years ago, which is going to really help the offense, going to help the quarterback. With Colt Miller at right tackle, it kind of minimalizes their weaknesses on the offensive line. That's going to help Marshawn Lynch, who I thought was really good at the end of last season. Doug Martin, he's there. I don't know how much of a contributor he'll be. Derek Carr, I believe he was injured last year. I think he'll have a bounce back. Jared Carr is a solid. Jared Cook is a solid tight end. Defensively, I thought they improved. As Dylan brought up, Maurice Hurst, Arden Key, those two guys will help improve the depth of this defense. Khalil Mack is a stud. I'm not really worrying about that too much. I think he'll be back and he'll be amongst the defensive player of the year conversation. And you're talking about Bruce Irvin, who's going to play a little bit more at the defensive end spot and be a little bit more of a pass rusher this year, which I think will also help. So you have a good 1-2 pass rusher. You throw in Arden Key occasionally. You have Maurice Hurst with Justin Ellis. This is a decent front. And then you go to the linebacker, where I think they also improved with Emmanuel Lemur, who they also picked up from Minnesota, Derek Johnson for some leadership. Tahir Whitehead is a solid linebacker. Connolly needs to stay on the field at corner if he can. That's a decent combo with Rashawn Melvin, who was a really underrated corner for the Colts last year. Safety isn't great outside of Carl Joseph, but they have some depth there with Gilchrist, Melanfonu, who eventually needs to play, and Reggie Nelson, who's a proven veteran. My question there is, who's their third corner? I want to see someone step up in that spot. But overall, I think their defense will be good enough with enough playmaker qualities in Khalil Mack, Bruce Irvin, and some of those guys, along with an offense that I think will score a lot of points, and a coach that I think is going to upgrade this team, bring a new motivation, bring a new kind of just a thing about the Raiders it's going to be back to the Raiders football. And he's an offensive mastermind. So I think John Gruden's going to come in and do a really good job with this team. And I think there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of kind of expectation for John Gruden to do a lot with this team. But I think they are actually going to fulfill it in year one and actually have a pretty good team and finish in the wild card spot. So I like the Raiders to bounce back this year. Kevole, right. Let's hear it, bro. Rip down my argument. Rip down Dilly Vanilli's argument. Give us why the Raiders are going to suck.
All right, hold on.
Well, yeah, okay, let's Martavius Bryant was even know where to start in terms of your arguments. There's just a number of interesting things. But let's start with, what's good here. I mean, I do agree with you that Jordy Nelson is an upgrade to Michael Crabtree for sure. I think there's a lot. I think the offensive line, there's some good things there that can happen.
You still found a way to make a shot at Michael Crabtree. I think that's absolutely great.
I'm going to check their PFFs. I want to see if Pro Football Focus had them rated. Continue.
My thing with the Oakland Raiders overall is kind of is more Dylan's argument, maybe more than Mitch's, but I feel like there's a lot of ifs with the Oakland Raiders. I feel like if Derek Carr is back, if Marshawn Lynch is the second half Marshawn Lynch, if Jordy Nelson can be Jordy Nelson, what about Khalil Mack? I mean, there's an article out suggesting about trading Khalil Mack. I think, and even bringing back John Gruden, we all love John Gruden from Monday Night Football. He was probably one of the only reasons the last few years to actually watch Monday Night Football. How he broke down terrible games and made them interesting. So we have some hopes for John Gruden as a coach, and he can bring back some of that Raider snide. But I just look at this team at this point in time, and I look at them in comparison to the teams in their division, the Chargers, the Chiefs, and the Broncos, and they just don't do well against those teams. And I think there's too many questions to have the Oakland Raiders as a playoff team. While I respect your opinion of 10-6, I don't have it that way. I do have them in the bottom, around the 5-11 mark. I just don't.
5-11.
I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions.
Sure.
Is Derek Carr a good quarterback?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. That's fine. No, no. You don't need an explanation. It's just a quick. It's a rapid fire.
Seasons ago to last year, there was a significant difference.
Okay. It's a rapid fire question. Is Derek Carr a good quarterback? I don't know. Okay, not really the answer I was liking, but I wanted no or yes. But anyways, is John Gruden a good coach?
John Gruden was a good coach.
Okay.
Do we know what John Gruden is now? He hasn't.
Do they have good offensive talent?
Potentially yes. But what you're not asking is this team a cohesive unit? That's a different question. And that's always.
Why wouldn't it be?
Why would? Because I think that was a lot of the downfall from last year. Was
that Jack Del Rio or no? It's a different team. It's a different regime.
Yeah, but I still don't know.
Just to throw this out there for me, in simple terms, the reason why I disagree with you is because I believe Derek Carr is a good quarterback. I believe John Gruden's a good coach. I like their offensive talent. I think they have a strong offensive line, and they have good defensive players. Not a great defense, but they have good defensive players. And I think the coach, along with the quarterback, are going to make this team a cohesive unit, in answering your question.
I don't know if I believe that. I have questions. My biggest questions about the Raiders are John Gruden, Derek Carr, and Marshawn Lynch.
If your philosophy as a owner is you're going to give a coach $100 million, he better fucking win more than 5 games his first season. But
here's the next question, though, is where is this team building? Is this team building for this Oakland, or is this team because there is some talent coming? We'll definitely. Like, if we're talking in a couple of years, if this was the 2020 preview of the Oakland Raiders, I'd be like, yeah, there's a shot for a playoff 10-win season here because of what they have. I'm wondering if this is a team that's building.
Well, not if you don't think Derek Carr is a good quarterback.
And they're not going to be.
I don't know what we have in Derek Carr. I don't know if Derek Carr was great 2 seasons ago. Derek Carr was not great last season.
Okay.
I don't know about Derek Carr. I'm not sold that he's.
I'm just saying he's going to be the quarterback in 2020.
And he may be a better quarterback around a better team.
Well, and if you don't think,
I don't know where he is right at this point in time.
Well, to me, you're saying he's not a good quarterback because you have him at 5-11. If he's a good quarterback, he's at least going to give him a couple more victories than 5.
I don't know that though. I don't know that.
So is he a good quarterback or is he not a good QB?
He's not, according to Kev.
I don't know where he is.
That is not a satisfying answer.
That's fine. It's not a satisfying answer, but I don't know. Like I don't.
Because 5 wins is quite the difference from like 7 or something, or 8, something like that. Because I feel like that's quite a drop-off. Like, if it's like 8 wins, this is a middling team. If this is 5 wins, this is one of the worst.
In terms of talent, this is a middling team. We kind of talked a little bit about it, but Gruden and Khalil Mack, I know, Mitch, you don't seem to be too worried about that. I think that's very significant. Khalil Mack is a beast, one of the better defensive players in this game, and he's not on this roster. I think that hurts.
That is scary. I don't think they'll trade him, but I do think that is a little bit questionable.
I'm not concerned because he's going to get signed in like 2 weeks. I'm not concerned. Within 2 weeks, he'll be on the team.
Unless if he doesn't play week 1, I'm not going to be.
Yeah, if he doesn't play week 1, I'm obviously changing because this team won't make the playoffs without Khalil Mack. But I'm pretty much 100% sure that Khalil Mack will be back within the next 2
pretty
weeks.
much 100%.
If he's not, I'll be shocked.
I'm not sure. I'm just not sure that Gruden and Khalil Mack are on the same page. I'm concerned.
I think Gruden's going to go there and be like, oh, man, this guy's so good. I need to sign him right now. And then he's going to sign him.
Well, why hasn't he talked to him?
I don't know the answer to the question, but I don't think that's going to lose them 11 games.
When I look back on this Raiders team last year, there was a lot of times, specifically that Sunday night game against the Washington Redskins earlier in the year, this team still feels to be that fractured Raiders team of last year. It's like, oh, they have John Gruden, and that's great and interesting, but there's still just, like, when I look at the Raiders, I still feel this crack in the foundation. I still don't see it. I don't, and I think it's going to be really interesting to watch them specifically when they play against their division, because I think that's going to be the telltale sign of where the Oakland Raiders are going to be.
I can't wait for a Chiefs-Raiders matchup because you have them at 12-4.
So if the Raiders are even close to winning those games.
Oh, that's going to be fun, though. If the Raiders even win
I
one.
almost would jump on a live stream for that. No, not that I would. But.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this preview of the Oakland Raiders. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe for more NFL on the Bottom Line View. We're previewing every team in the NFL. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, again, comment below, man. We want to hear what you guys have to say. Let us know. Raiders, playoff team, wild card team, AFC West champion, AFC West loser. What are they going to be under John Gruden this year? Let us know. All right? Peace out.